Start with the pledge to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Butcher, absent. McNally, absent. Flaker. Here. Townsend.
Here.
Hoffman.
Here.
Bamberg.
Here.
Bear, absent. Bovine.
Here.
Turnbull.
Here.
And Baker.
Here. Okay, approval of the agenda. We have one correction that I know of. Under new business, item number 3 should be old business, item number 6. Is there any other corrections or changes to the agenda? Do we have a motion then?
Make a motion, we approve the agenda with changes.
George.
Motion been made and seconded. All in favor, aye. Motion carried. Reading the minutes of June 11th. Page 2, middle of the page. Paragraph starts out, Chairman Baker shared the DDA's responsibility. The word fall at the end of that paragraph should just be removed. 2 paragraphs down, the word sponsors should have an S on it for plural. Page number 3, donation request in the middle of the page. DDA Coordinator Joe Lissett starts off. Into that line says DDA agenda additional. It should say DDA agenda, the policy guidelines. The word additional is changed to D. Old business at the bottom of the page, item number 2. It should say no updates at this time regarding the DDA sidewalks. Are there any other corrections to the minutes from June 11th? May I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from June 11, 2014 with the changes.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We have 1 aye.
All together now.
Anybody else want to vote on that?
What?
To approve the agenda, or the minutes as modified.
You said all in favor say aye, but you didn't give them the chance to say nay, so.
Well, only one second.
I think we were all still writing. Try again.
All in favor of accepting the changes?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Approved, the adjusted minutes have been approved. Special orders, there are none. Request to be on the agenda, there are none. Public comments once. Public comments twice. Public comments 3 times. We close the public comments.
That's your time to get up there.
Sorry, we're closed.
Lieutenant Steve wanted me to come up here.
Well, you just said something that before I said share it with the board.
Yeah, Steve told me, because I had told him that several people had told me about the grouping of the 3 flower pots together and how much they like that rather than them being distributed in one long line. And Steve
Don't
said,
forget to state your name.
Sue Schluckbeer, Bridgeport. Anyhow, Steve said I should get up here and tell you how much everybody's saying they like it.
Thank you, Sue.
We do too.
Darn it.
Okay, let's move on to new business. 4422 Williamson Project. Steve, do you have a report on that?
Yeah, that is the old B&S building, which now belongs to us. At one time, we had mentioned after we accrue that property, what are we gonna do with it? Tanya from Spicer and I have been working. We will probably have a report, maybe not at the next month, but the following month, on different options that we're going to present to the board. Similar to restoring the building to the old gas station. Possibility tearing the building down and make it into a park. We're just gonna have several options with some cost of what we're actually gonna do with that building. And then we'll present those to the board. That's something that you wanted me to work on, and I'm having time to help me with that. One thing that is going on in town that was brought to my attention is there is a Facebook page, and I believe it's Friends of Bridgeport Alumni. And when they heard that we acquired that property, they would like to see that kind of restored to the old gas station look. So one of the things I'm going to do is, I'm a firm believer that we should listen to the citizens if they have something they want to bring to the DDA board. This shouldn't be my decision or the board's decision. I want them to come to a meeting, and I'm going to invite them either to the August meeting probably, and if the board wants to address them of why you would like to see this, who's going to pay for it, that type of stuff, so that we can actually hear their voice. And then from that point, we'll have B, C, and whatever else we think we're going to do with that sometime in September. Ultimately, it's the board's decision what they want to do. But if somebody's concerned about it and what we're going to do, I feel that they should be listened, and we'll be putting something on Facebook, inviting them to the next DDA meeting, and then we're also going to put it in the Birch Run Herald that you're welcome to come to the DDA meeting, and they can address the board on why they would like to see that restored, and you guys can have any opportunity to ask them any question that you would like.
Okay. Is there any more report on the Williamson project?
No, sir.
That concludes new business item number 1. Let's go on to new business item number 2, historic bridge sign.
Yeah, about I would say it was probably I started in September, but I think it was maybe July or August. It was brought up about the board. Carl Miller had sent us a letter in, and he was with the JCs about having some type of a historic sign down at the bridge. And I let you all read what Carl had suggested, and that's not what we really wanted to do. We got a hold of Vern, is it? Messler, and he is a historian on bridges. Tanya and I met with him last Tuesday for over 2 hours. Tanya and I feel that we have enough information now to put some words together for a historic sign down at the park. Whether we want to do a 1-side or 2-side or 3-fold, we're really not sure. But we've made the first step in contacting Vern and his wife Nan. It was an excellent meeting. I wish all of you could have been there. This guy knows his stuff about historic bridges. Actually, he has 7 of them that is in a barn that he has tore down, that he has parts and everything. His comment to us was that we have the best and most original rebuilt bridge in the whole state of Michigan. Every screw, every rivet, everything was taken apart on that bridge. I don't know if all you know that, but it was all taken piece by piece and put all back together. There is very little refurbished things on that bridge. It is all back to its pretty much normal state. And he said,
Remember correctly, the rivets are new because they had to be, but they're authenticated in terms of their size and shape and characteristics.
I think they
Is that
use
correct?
some,
I think so.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some new ones, and I think they use some of the old ones, but the nuts and stuff like that, I mean, he had all this terminology. The guy is so educated on bridges, and they go all around the country. They're going to California to talk about the Golden Gate Bridge and stuff like that, so. So we made the first step, and now we're going to come up with some verbiage so that some people will have some type of a history on the bridge, and hopefully soon we can get a marker down there.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
Any more on the historic bridge sign? That concludes new business item number 2. And it puts us in old business item number 1, the canoe launch. Steve, you got an update on that?
Yeah, I received all the information from Lee Hoffman. Actually, you all have a survey there that John brought in today. That is the survey from the property that John donated. Everything has been submitted to the title company. We'll be working with Jan Ferguson. I have not talked to Rose on this, but either myself or Bill will probably do the representation of signing the papers for Bridgeport. I'm kind of familiar with Jan and have done that anytime we've acquired property. But that is now at the title company. We're just waiting for that to get back, and we should close on that, she thought, in the next 3 weeks or so, that we would become the owners of that property. Also, Tanya and Bill went out with the DNR last Tuesday. If you guys want to bring an update on that, this was the first step, I believe, for the grant that you have to meet with the DNR, and that was last Tuesday morning. You spent a few hours.
Last Tuesday, we had Tamara from the DNR field office out of Lansing. They come and they do a site visit. So we went back and she looked around where our plan is to put the one on the island, and then she also went down to the Hoffman site and showed her where that one would be going to. And she seemed very interested, thought it was a great plan, and was excited that we were going to be doing that. So. Anything else you want to add?
No, it was just an informational meeting for her to see the site and I think put the project, more than on paper, it puts actual meaning.
It's in her steps of requirements to see the land that she's
Yeah,
talking about, that's taken care of.
So you should be seeing a preliminary score on that grant come out probably late August, September. And then you'll have a chance to respond and add any additional information.
Is this the one that had to be rewritten because of the words?
What's that?
Is this the grant that had to be rewritten because there were too many words?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That's all been submitted, resubmitted, and everything. So.
Very good. If there's no more in the canoe launch, we'll close that one and go to the DDA Flowers update.
This probably should be the last time we talk about this topic. Rose and I attended the chamber meeting this morning. It was a couple hours, Birch Run, Bridgeport, and there were some very nice favorable comments about the flowers, actually just over the past weekend, the clusters of them. We heard a lot of positives, we heard some negatives. Augie and I, we went out, all you are aware, we moved 25, 35 pots, spread them out a little bit more, but it still didn't look quite right to have them really rowed. So what I did was, since we spend that money, I felt as though I needed some guidance on how to, because this was our first year, so I called Matt Beauvais, and they own Abley's Flowers, and I told him, Matt, you guys are the experts in flowers. You guys are the experts in creating things and drawing things and doing different settings and stuff like that. And I think it would be to your best interest to take a look at them, because I'm not quite happy with them being all road and stuff like that. He said, no problem, Steve, absolutely no problem. They came out and worked, I believe, about 2-3 hours, and they did a lot of clustering. And all of you have seen that. We kept a couple along the state police, that there's some roads still there and a few other ones, but most of them all are clustered. I've heard lots of favorable comments since they clustered them. It looks a lot better. That's pretty much it.
Augie, did you get approval from your wife?
Heck, there were quite a few comments on Facebook. Got a lot of friends that, graduated from Bridgeport, live in Bridgeport, that kind of stuff. And they made some comments. In fact, one was, Augie, thanks, they look really nice.
And when I contacted Matt, like it was about a week ago or so, he said, sure, Steve, he said, you're just in the prime with those flowers. They're gonna go all the way through September, and they're gonna get almost to 3 feet tall. So he said, now's the time to move them, we can juggle them around a little bit more. I had somebody call, Bill's Barbershop. I might go out there and rechange those in front of where Buttercrust is, because we clustered some of those, and they said, man, we really kind of liked them right there. Could I move one over? Yeah, you can move one over. So I let Bill's move one over, but I think it's 100% improvement. And if we just keep tweaking it a little bit, we'll get there.
They do look much better.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our discussion on the DDA flowers. Let's go to new business, full business item number 3, the rock at I-75.
This should be the last time we talk about this topic too. I had talked to Rose about this, and Rose had done quite a bit of research, and I did some research, which all of you are aware of it, because we've talked about it at the last couple of meetings. Birch runs, rock that they have out there, the Great Lakes Bay region, that is covered underneath their umbrella. No additional charge, and all the information that Rose has gathered, and I believe we even shared it with you guys a couple of months ago, that it would not increase our premium because the beautification, obviously their funds are really tight, and so what we have done is we now have the rock insured underneath the DDA policy. And I've talked to both I've talked to Louise and Karen about that. So, because your policy, John, you're on that committee, it expires August 1st. So the rock is now insured for liability underneath the DDA, and there was no additional cost.
Good, that's great. That's good news. Okay, does anyone else have anything more on the rock? Let's move on to old business number 4, the Great Lakes Discovery Center.
Spicer has started the survey work. They should have all of the field work done this week, and then they will go ahead and get all the paperwork and everything ready to go to Jason at the Fish and Wildlife. So since the water's down and stuff like that, they're just finishing that up. That survey should get in 10 days, week, couple weeks.
Yeah, I think probably end of next week or maybe the following week you'll have it. Yeah.
And if we can get that into Jason at the Fish and Wildlife, he told me once they receive that information, we would be looking at 30 to 90 days for a closing through First Title Company again. So I'm just gonna say by the end of the year, I hope to have that land swap exchange completed.
Okay, good progress.
Thank you.
Any more on the Great Lakes Discovery Center?
So what's the survey that you gave us?
That survey is on the Hoffman property. Remember we just talked about the Canoe Launch?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
The only other thing on the Great Lakes Discovery, we were going to do it this Tuesday at 4 raining. Myself and Tanya and Augie and Rose and Bill are actually going to go out and do site visits to the Great Lakes property. We want to go down to the Hoffman property. We want to go over to the Sheridan Road property. And then there's a couple other properties that, because I don't even know where some of that property is, and Tanya is very familiar with all of that stuff, so we're making progress. The closing will happen here by the end of the year, I'm hoping, and we'll also be educated through Tanya where things are at, and when we go out there, we can know what's our property and what is not our property.
I think that's a good idea. Have a look at it firsthand. Okay, that concludes the Great Lakes Discovery Center old business. Let's move on to item number 5, the MDOT I-75.
In your packet, it's a day late, but in your packet, I had put that in there because these came out a week later, so you still should have the information. There was a public open house last night. I was planning on attending, but then the more I read into it, I did not attend. All they talked about was the wall. It was in the Saginaw newspaper, and there was a 3-hour meeting, I believe, yesterday, and they were actually talking to residents in Buena Vista. It has nothing to do with residents in Bridgeport, because it's along that from Outer Drive to the Hess area. It's those homes right there where they're going to be doing that work in 2015 and 16 of sound barrier walls. So the public was able to attend that meeting and give their input whether they want walls or not. As far as that, no additional information on MDOT until Jason Garza contacts Rose or myself, and we're going to try and attend every meeting that is going to be of concern of the Bridgeport area and not into the BV area.
Generally speaking, it doesn't interrupt anything in Bridgeport Township.
No. Not that, right. There will be a lot of interruptions in Bridgeport once they start laying that all up, because Baker Road's going down, King Road's going down, Hess is going down. It's going to be for 2 years, it's going to be a cluster mess. But we will bring more information to you on that as we get it. We don't have any of that right now.
If I recall, seeing on the news, is that they're gonna do one of them first, and when they get that completed, then they're gonna do the other two.
That is absolutely right. I believe they're doing King Road first.
He would be the middle one, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Augie's right, they're gonna do Baker and Hess at the same time. And at that one meeting Rose and I were at, and then the meeting that we had here with them, maybe 4 to 5 months, that those overpasses will be closed and everything will be detours, buses and all that. They'll actually come in, they'll talk to the fire department, they'll talk to the police department, they'll talk to any board member, and keep everybody in the schools, keep everybody abreast of what's going on during that 2-year period. And it's scheduled to start February of this February 2015.
So would there be a public meeting held for them to do this?
I would think so, yeah. I would think there's going to be, there almost would have to be, I think, just like the sound barrier walls.
They showed that, saw the news last night, they showed that sound barrier wall. It's quite attractive, actually. They don't just put up a cement wall that's
Right.
kind of decorative. It looks kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, I saw it on the early news, but I didn't know what did you know what the outcome was of the meeting? Did the residents in Buena Vista go for it? Is that what there is, or wasn't it voted on?
I think it was just an input meeting. At
Just an
open house,
input?
it was a 3-hour meeting, but it was set up so you could just stop in for 5 minutes
Okay.
and give any comments or see what they had going on and leave. It wasn't a formal presentation, I don't think.
Okay.
And what they said on the news, everybody's been pretty happy.
I've heard the walls going up, they want it.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, any more discussion on the MDOT I-75? That concludes that old business item. Let's move on to Dollar General. Steve, you
Um,
want to update on that?
Only update I got, and I learned this from Rose this morning, possibility of opening at the end of the month, is what we've been told. But in your packet, there is a letter that I emailed to Charlie, forgot his last name, he's from Westland Instruction. You'll all see it there. I think when Augie and I were out moving flowers or in a meeting or whatever it was we were doing, Augie had brought to me that, you know what, this might be a great opportunity for Dollar General to focus a certain area in the dollar store for hardware. We have no hardware store in Bridgeport. They gotta run either to Frankenmuth, Birch Run, or all the way to Saginaw. So I have not got a response to this. This email went out on June 19th. I will probably follow it up very soon. But I don't need to read the letter. You guys can read it on your own. It's just highlighting that, talking to our township supervisor, we don't have a hardware in town. This might be a great opportunity for Dollar General to expand on this idea. And we will be of any kind of assistance, and we welcome you to the community. So we're kind of hoping that they will offer some things that people don't have to run 15 miles or 10 miles for hardware supply. That's all that is.
Okay, thank you for that report. Any more discussion on the Dollar General? That concludes that old business item. Move on, there is no closed session. And the DDA coordinator's report.
Yeah, I just got a couple things that I haven't already talked about. Bridgeport mini storage is expanding. Ron has received all that information. I believe that it'll go to planning and zoning. I believe they're putting up 3 more, maybe 15 more units or something like that, but they are expanding. We had talked about at our last meeting, the Speedway, it looks like that's going to go through too. We're waiting for them to submit their stuff to the planning and zoning, and they will be tearing down that Marathon building, tearing down their building, rebuilding, and a whole new development there for Speedway, which I think will make the town look really nice. At the town board meeting on Tuesday, Roberta asked me about a expense sheet like you guys get. We just put the budget in there, and then you'll notice to the columns that all of a sudden, you know, we're spending that or whatever. And Roberta had asked me if there was a way that we could get like the check expenditure report. Well, I talked big words, didn't I? And I went to Tammy, and so I think what we can include on this is the expense where the checks were. So we'll still have the budget sheet like this, and then Jamie, when she puts in the accounts payable, she can put at least so much, so that you can see where the checks that were cut for that month. And it's something that Tammy said be no problem to do, right? You'll still get your budget sheet, but you'll see what checks that I approved that were paid. I don't approve anything unless you guys have given me that okay anyway, so. But you'll see it on now the sheet, which I think is a good idea.
So you do a final review on that to see to it that that work is done.
Pardon?
You do a final review before those checks go out.
No, what I do is when a bill comes in that you guys have okayed for me to go ahead with the project, I okay the thing to be paid, the invoice to be paid with the account number, then those go to Jeff and Daryl. Those get put into the accounts payable system, and then before they're mailed out, they go to Daryl and to Jeff to say, yep, that's okay, and then they're mailed out.
Okay.
Last thing, I want to thank Tanya from Spicer. I know we pay you, so, but those 10 hours a month that you guys have okayed, I've taken some of those hours, and Tanya is very, very knowledgeable. I think she is an asset to Spicer. You are also an asset to Bridgeport. You are very knowledgeable. Anything I've asked for her, she has gotten. Some of these things, guys, I would have not been able to get you the right answers. I would be digging and digging. I just want to thank you that you are an asset, not only to the township, to the boards, and to Bridgeport. And Spicer's got a good person on their hands.
Thank you.
My opinion.
Appreciate it.
And lastly, Rose and I attended the chamber meeting this morning. It was started at 9, got done about 10:45, so it's been a hectic morning. Things are moving forward on the chamber. There's some things that they've got to kind of sort out and stuff like that, but all in all, I thought it was a pretty good meeting, and not much to comment right now. And Tammy, thank you for filling in for Jamie again this week. Jamie's mother is very ill and doesn't have, I think, a whole lot of time. I think we just keep her in your prayers, please. I'm done.
Okay, that concludes the DDA coordinator's report. Member comments, Roberta?
I don't have any comments today, thank you.
Okay, Eugene? Supervisor Townsend?
I just wanted to add, because Tanya is also sits on the planning commission for Bridgeport, and her input is very appreciated. I want to thank you from the board for what you do for us.
Thank you. Robin?
Just a duplicate comment, I think the flowers look really nice, the way they are, just your rearranging of them looks really good. I agree.
John?
Yeah, is the assisted living building, has anybody talked to the township about an addition going on there this spring or summer?
I can comment on that. I believe Hamza, who is the owner, has been in contact with Ron. I look at Rose because I just want to make sure I'm on the same page. Has been in contact with Ron. I believe it was a couple months ago because you had brought to my attention that he was possibly going to add on an 18-room on the other end or whatever. He did talk to Ron. There has been no site plan. There has been nothing done at that time, as of right now. So I was going to get a hold of Hamza. I just haven't had time. Ron indicated to me he thought Hamza was building one in the Saginaw area, and that there's a project, that he has a project going on right now in the Saginaw area. As far as the expansion, we've received nothing as of right now.
Well, he told me a couple months ago that, they were just waiting to get with the township to get the approval of the drawings. The drawings are done. And they will be starting,
Okay.
But I'm wondering, he questioned me whether he could purchase some land on the east, the other end of the building, instead of going next toward Anderson's, just buy some land on the other side of the buildings for more parking. So that's what made me wonder if we got with the township, and the township was turning something down because he didn't have parking plan for the addition.
Planning commission hasn't seen anything on that.
Haven't seen anything.
Ron, I believe all this stuff goes to Ron first, and there's been nothing on either a parking lot or the addition that you and I had talked about. And you said he's got the papers ready. They have not been here at the township.
But I saw the drawings of the addition, but, I was thinking something was possibly holding it up. I know that he's got another unit going out on Gratiot. And that's a little bit bigger than this one here. But, I'm not about to just sell a half of a lot. And I would have to sell a lot or two, or it spoils any additional work that I've got going there. Anyhow.
We've received nothing, John, and then when we do, I can either get a hold of you or have Ron get a hold of you.
So John, a while back, I had talked to him about possibly building these sports complex or sports center, similar to what I'm doing. So maybe when you're talking about the lot, you can tell him, pop in a couple more there, and he can build a sports complex there, like somewhere with that. You can do it, John.
Yeah, you do it. Okay. That's all I've got on that. I do have another question on, I just got my summer taxes, and this lot that I donated to the township, I don't know whether that's included in my taxes, that description you can look at. That's braille to me, I don't know what I'm looking at. Whose lot, or what lot that is. Does the township know here, Rose, would you know?
Your tax bill's gonna be probably the same as it was last year until the closing and everything's final. And that's what you're talking about, meeting with Jan Ferguson. So it's not gonna, you're not gonna see it different on that bill.
When you and I and Tanya met yesterday, before we were gonna go out on that, Amanda, I believe when when that transaction takes place, just like when you buy a house or whatever, they're gonna prorate those taxes for that piece of property that, you can correct me if I'm wrong, for that piece of property that you donated, there will be a proration. So, if you pay your taxes before or whatever, I'm sure you'll have a credit or whatever, but Jan Ferguson from the title company, when we go with you to the title company, she'll have that all right there. And
Will that also be a possibly a land split? Will that be called a land
Yes.
split?
Yes, there has to be. So the proration will be based on the split of the land, but also be based on the number of calendar days, who owned what.
right now, you're responsible for all of those taxes until we actually go to that closing and close.
So if you paid them through the end of the year, the proration and the township and the closing would reimburse that cost.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I've got.
Okay, John, thank you. Gary?
I just want to say I have had all kinds of people come up and tell me how nice those flowers are along there. They're saying, I can see where the guys are really doing something now, and it's good to hear that good news like that.
I got a question on what will happen in the fall with those pots? Will they be picked up? What will happen?
Well, the pots can be saved. Matt from Higley's told me that there would be, if we have him do it, a small charge, but we can pick up the pots, and I believe we have to just dump the dirt or whatever. Can you save the dirt? I think you can save the dirt. We're gonna have to find a storage place for the pots, and I do have a storage place in mind, because I personally don't think that anything is going to be done yet this year. We have to look at our budget for next year of the DNS property and the back building there. I learned a lot down there. Bill and I went down there. That, and Ron might know some of this stuff, that back building that he had as a garage actually was a oil change. You got your regular foundation, then there was like 4 or 5 steps going down, and it smelled real oily in there, and that's where they actually did the oil changes. And then there's a few steps up in the top, but we are going to have to store the pots, and that was my initial plan for this next year, so so that we don't have to buy the pots next year. We would just have to buy the flowers. So our cost should go down considerably, because the pots were, I'd have to go look and see exactly what they were. But as many pots as we can keep, they'll repot them and bring them back out.
I think my memory suggests that I heard the Abeles is gonna pick these up and store them for the winter, when we first talked about putting the project together. Did I misunderstand? Anybody else remember that?
That's what I thought I heard.
Yeah, no, they're not gonna store them for us.
They'll come and get them probably in the spring.
They'll come and get them and stuff, but they're not gonna store them for us. Not unless I talk to Matt, and he seems like a great guy, I might be able to use my salesmanship and have him do it, I don't know.
Well,
They
that
have
is
got
a
someplace to
styrofoam,
put
isn't
it.
it?
They're a hard plastic. They're a hard plastic.
If he's gotta pick them up in the spring to put flowers in them, then we can reduce the overall effort to move them around if they go
Yeah.
straight up there this fall.
Yeah, I'll work on that and talk to him, because they're gonna go right through September.
Yep. Yes, so much every now
Oh, you get me? Okay, I'll check with him on that.
Okay?
Yeah, get a quote from him picking them up and dumping the dirt and starting over for spring, and then us doing all that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I know I'm not a big promoter.
One thing is it too late for me to comment anymore, or no?
No, we're still in the comment zone.
Okay.
I'll allow it.
I don't know if you guys have seen by Fort Road there. Louise used to always go out there with the hoe and stuff and work all those weeds up and all that kind of stuff. I had talked to Karen, and it was brought up at one of the meetings. I just finally got a hold of John from Reliable, and I got a price, and I just went and had it done. It looks very, very nice. We're getting a lot of compliments on that. We kind of tied it into the rock. We kind of tied it into the bridge. He pulled all of those perennials out of there. They went in and rototilled that all up, sprayed all that with Roundup, killed all those weeds underneath there. Then they put a weed barrier in there, and then they went and put the mulch on there. And put all of the perennials back in there in the pots. It looks really, really nice. That area there was a hard area to maintain. And with safety and everything, and Louise getting up there in age, I just went ahead and took it upon myself to approve it, because it was underneath the amount that I can approve, and I had it done.
Good for you. Because it does look good.
Thank you. When there's little things that I think that need to be done, and it doesn't need board approval, or it's under $1,000, I'm just gonna take that upon myself to do it. I don't feel as though I have to waste your guys' time and pulling the board together to spend $500 or $200 like we did the tree in that. So I'm working for the best interests of the DDA and the community.
Tanya, we do appreciate your expertise and your deciphering the braille that we have on these documents. And we need that input to be able to make decisions in the community. That concludes the DDA member comments. That also concludes Steve's extra comment. And the next meeting is Wednesday, August 13th.